right, everybody, welcome to the GreenCourt Connections podcast. I'm your host, Jay Bland, Chief Growth Officer here at GreenCourt. We've got a very special guest this week, Tahnicia Phillips, State Court Clerk in Cobb County, Georgia, which is my state court. So I live here in Cobb County, which makes you my clerk. I really appreciate you taking a few minutes to spend with us today.
Thank you for having me. My name is Tahnicia Phillips. I am your newly elected State Court Clerk for Cobb County, Georgia. I'm so excited to be in this role. I'm a Marietta native. I have been living in Marietta my entire life, serving this community my entire life. My experience, most of my professional legal experience has been in the magistrate court here in Cobb County. So I was a previous clerk of court there and then court administrator before moving into this role.
What high school did you go to in Marietta?
The best high school in Cobb County in the state, Marietta High School. So I am a Blue Devil, class of 99.
Awesome. Well, you mentioned a little bit about your experience in magistrate court and then obviously moving over to state court. But let's back up before that. So let's talk about when you were a kid. I've told this story before, but when I was a kid, I wanted to be a trash man because it looked like it was so much fun. Some days I wish I would have done that. Other days I don't. So my question for you is, when you were a kid, what was your dream job?
My dream job was always to be a lawyer. And watching all of the court TV, CSI, SVU, I was like, oh, this is cool. I would love to be in the courtroom. I love to figure things out. I love to advocate for people and I love to talk, so being in a courtroom and talking and helping people, I just knew that was my dream job. And so I went on to Clark Atlanta University, where I majored in criminal justice, and everything I did was to prepare myself to go to law school. And so when I started working part-time in the magistrate court, I realized how much courts do behind the scenes and how important those people are. And lawyers are important, but they don't make the justice system go round like the courts. And so I started to get more involved, and it just wasn't a job to me. I started to understand more about how courts work. Who are the court partners? How impactful can our court be to the community beyond issuing a warrant? And so that is what led me into being more of a court professional versus a lawyer.
Well, as someone who went to law school, excuse me, I can tell you they don't teach us anything about clerks, and they should. When I finished law school, we started this company, and I've been to every clerk's office in the state, maybe a few exceptions to that rule. And I learned so much about clerks, and I was shocked they didn't teach us about clerks in law school. So my question for you is, for all the folks out there who don't really know what a clerk does, what does a clerk do?
So a clerk maintains the records. So the day-to-day operations of the court, maintaining the accuracy of the records, maintaining the filings, making sure that court is able to happen on a day-to-day basis. Just, you're a lawyer, so you'll understand the legal terminology, but for an everyday citizen, clerks are the heartbeat of the justice system. When police issue a warrant, they have to get their charging document from the clerk's office. When someone needs a bond, the clerks are in court. They draw up the documents, make sure they're filed in, and they get processed timely. That is important. So clerks are a significant part of public safety, making sure that all of the orders are processed accurately. If there's an error where someone it's not docketed that a bench warrant is issued because they failed to appear, or a warrant is issued, that person could still pose a threat to the community. So those are the types of things that the clerk's office does. Make sure that people's addresses are accurately entered and up to date so that they get proper notice to come to court. If there's an error on the clerk's side, they may not get notice, they fail to appear. Now they have a bench warrant and they could be falsely arrested. So those are the types of things that clerks do. Make sure that your fees and fines are appropriately applied to your cases. All of you fabulous attorneys out there, making sure that you're able to represent your clients as efficiently and as timely as possible. So our legal community, our lawyers, we take very good care of you because it's a partnership. And it takes all of us to make sure that, we are serving at the best of our ability. So that is pretty much, I always say the clerks are the heartbeat. We strive to make sure that we're delivering, excellent service, not just to the constituents, but to our legal partners, to our county partners, to our police. So yes, and make sure that there are no barriers in that service.
That's well said. It's a lot of stuff. All right, so let's talk a little bit about mentorship. I know as I was going through school and then after school, working in a new company, I had to lean on people that had done it before, right?
Yes.
So I want to ask you, when you think about your career so far, what mentors stick out in your mind?
So I've had several mentors, not just one, in every phase of my life to make sure I get to the next phase. And so now I kind of have an advisory board of mentors through every phase. So definitely through my early clerk phase was the previous clerk of court, who is the magistrate court clerk now, just showing me the ropes. Amazing. Her name is Ann Gordon, and she is who introduced me to the field. Got me my first internship with the courts and part-time job. And so I was shadowing her, watching her, and she actually poured into me and believed in me. And I was able to move up through the magistrate court. Of course, the previous court administrator, as clerk of court, then taught me about budgeting, how to be a leader behind the scenes, how to work with the county commission to build and write policy for the court and for the county. And so that equipped me to be a court administrator. Working with our previous chief magistrates helped me to just enhance those skills. The ability to be able to collaborate with all of the different partners, programming for the courts, being able to see beyond what you're currently doing was my former boss, who is the current chief magistrate. He never stops dreaming. You talk about a court of the future. And so that is kind of where my mentorship is now, is dreaming of the best state court in the state of Georgia. And so when I came here, I've taken all of my mentors and really poured that into this court to make it the best court, make it as efficient as possible with limited resources, and to pour into the staff and to do all the things that, I believe that we can do, whether it's been done or not. I want to test the waters, and I want to, difficult is, that's not in my vocabulary. And I'm always up for the challenge to see what can be done. So I am definitely a visionary when it comes to courts, and someone who is forward thinking about how we can change our business operations and just make this a better court for all people.
Well, not surprising. It sounds like mentors played a large role in your career so far. My next question on that same subject is, how do you make yourself available to the next generation of leaders so that you can kind of switch roles and be the mentor?
So that is great that you asked. So I started an internship program here. It's called Pathway to Justice. And so we have been actively recruiting some high schoolers. We will do college students later on in the year. But next week, I think next week or the week after, we will host our first group of high school interns to expose them to the legal field and courts. And so that is a week of learning, a week of really showing the younger generation what could be. Um, in this position, I'm the first African American to hold this position, which means a lot for this community, and it means a lot for our youth to know that anything is possible. And so while I have this platform, I want to always make sure that I am using it to pour back into the youth. So we will have a week where they are not just learning about state court and our state court judges, but they are learning about all classes of court, that they're able to meet and see the prosecutors in our county, the solicitor, the DA, see some of the Superior Court judges and meet them and really understand from a high level that they can understand how courts work and how they work for the community. We will all also talk to them about resume building, etiquette, online presence. That is something that we didn't have to work. It didn't exist when we were coming up, but now that is a huge thing for them now. If you're looking for a career, especially in government, how you present yourself online.
Yeah, so it's called Pathways to Justice. That's what you said, right?
Yes,
I love
yes,
that. And I think those skills that you're teaching are so important. I see so many people now, even when we hire, I can go back and see what you put on Twitter when you were 16, and
yes,
that follows you around forever, and it matters.
yes, yes, it does.
And especially moving into government, if you have to, with you had to go through an election, right? And
Yes.
and in an election, people are going to dig and people are going to find.
Hmm.
And you would hate to see these teenagers make decisions now that hurt them years down the road.
Right. Right. And there's, you live and you learn, but you also need someone to be able to tell you those things. If no one ever tells you, then, you don't know. And of course, it is up to them to make, good decisions. But at least someone has poured into them the importance of making the best decisions, not just for now, but for the future.
That's great. I'm so glad you're doing that. I look forward to hearing how it goes in a couple
Hmm.
of weeks when you have the kickoff. Um, you know, when you think about clerks today, so not necessarily just state court clerks, but superior court clerks as well, and even maybe other classes of court too. What are the biggest threats or issues that clerks face today?
I would say trying to move forward and balancing an increasing population, which is an increase in caseload with limited resources.
Hmm.
I think that is one of the biggest challenges is making sure that we have resources for technology. That is huge to me. Technology, that is the future, that is now. And so having the best technology to be able to provide for your constituents and make sure that your court is operating as efficiently as possible and as accessible as possible, not just to your staff, but to lawyers,
Hmm.
to witnesses, to jurors, to anyone who has to encounter the court or has to go through the court. Most people's first interaction is with state court, getting a traffic ticket. And so being able to process those citations timely and accurately through a modern case management system, modern e-filing system, being able to pay online from anywhere. from any device. That is important. So that is one of the biggest challenges when you don't have the resources to be able to have that in your court.
Yeah, and you see a lot of, I think traditionally the answer in government has been, okay, we have more work to do, so let's hire more people, right?
Right.
But and while we all want people to have jobs, I think job creation
Yes.
is very important. But depending on budget constraints, you may have to lean towards, and it sounds like you are leaning towards, how efficient can we be with the staff that we have now?
Right. And that is technology.
Right.
Um, and that is you think about we have outgrown the space we're in now. And so they're talking about building a new building. And we are at the table. And I have challenged them to think beyond building another brick box. You have to invest in technology. You have to invest in the technology. There's no more physical space that you're going to be able to build to put people in. We are drowning in paper. And technology is the key for success and growth in the future. It just is. You've got that. That's where the resources need to be poured into today.
Right. Well, when you think about your career so far, and I think you're in your prime. Like, I don't think you're in the beginning. I don't think you're in the end. I think you're in the prime. I like to think I'm in my prime too. We'll see, right? The people will be the judge for that. But when you think about your career so far, I think it's important to highlight successes and failures because people can learn from those, right? So when you think back so far on your journey, what's a success that sticks out? And what did you learn from it? And also, what's a failure that sticks out or a hardship that sticks out that you had a chance to learn from?
So when one of the biggest success stories for me would be how I was able to navigate COVID. Unprecedented times, a time where courts never did remote hearings. And so being able to adapt and change your entire business process now leveraging technology, which was already there. And so it forced court leaders to think differently about how they could manage and operate their courts, still delivering justice, and be able to use technology where you are at a time where people can't be face to face. So to me, that was the biggest success story for us coming from magistrate court where we operated 24/7.
Right.
We did not close. As long as the jail is open, there is a judge and a clerk that is on duty, making sure that people have access to justice, making sure that public safety is first. And so being able to have remote hearings twice a day, even on weekends, during that time, just being able to not, reduce backlog and not have a backlog of cases and people, the business of the court was still able to go on. So that to me was one of my biggest highlights of my career is working through that time. It was a hard time, but we learned a lot and we were able to still continue to work in a different way than we did before and still be successful. And then it just, opened the doors up for you to continue to operate in a new and more modern way and adjust to a new normal.
And I think about that time, and I'm going to give a shout out to another Cobb County native. Chief Justice Harold Melton at the time was leading our judiciary,
Yes.
and he led us as
Yes.
a court system, as a legal community. He led us through that pandemic exceptionally well.
Yes, he did. And so with his leadership, Cobb would set the standard. Cobb was back with limited downtime. Cobb County did not experience an extended period of time where we were in a backlog for jurors coming in, for those high profile felony cases, and even for family violence. We were the standard in my eyes compared to some of our other counties. And so I'm very proud of his leadership and proud of what we were able to do and accomplish as courts, all classes of court in Cobb County.
So if you think about, that was a success and a challenge, right? It was kind of both. But if you think about something that pops in your mind when you're like, you know what, if I could do that again, looking back on it, I would do it differently. Does anything come to mind?
I don't think of challenges as failures, or it's just an opportunity for us to learn and grow. So I can't think of any failures. Some of the challenges there's some challenges working with outside partners.
Right.
And when you talk about technology, some people are still afraid of it.
Right.
And so being able to educate people about technology, and that has been a challenge in my new role, just being able to educate people about technology and how technology is here to help. It is not to make it more difficult for you. It is here to make what you do easier, more efficient, and better for you and better for the people we serve.
Right.
Whether it's our judges, our attorneys. So those have been the biggest challenges for me coming in this role. But I can't think of any failures.
All right. So when it's all said and done and your career is over and you move into the next stage of life, how do you want people to remember you? And I don't just mean your constituents. I also mean the people that you worked with, the people in your office, the lawyers, the judges, and everybody in between. What do you want your legacy to be?
That I always led with integrity and empathy and vision for this court and for my community. That I left this court more efficient, more accessible, and more people-centered. It is very important to me that our court is in the community and that we are educating people about what the clerk's office does and how we bring justice to the community. And that that I am creating a pathway for future leaders, that I'm pouring into our staff and people coming up behind me, that they are in a space that they can also serve with excellence.
Well said. I think you're well on your way. I mean, I've only known you for a few months now, but I've really enjoyed getting to know you. I think you're super passionate about what you do. You're knowledgeable about what you do. You take it seriously. And yes. I care about every clerk's office in the state, but the Cobb County clerk's office is my clerk's office. So I really care about it. And it's so good to see this office in great hands. I thank you for your work, and I thank you for spending some time with us today.
And we thank you. You are awesome partners to work with, and we wouldn't be able to deliver excellent service to our legal community without you. So we thank you also.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Have a great day.
All right. Thank you.